Hey guys, what's up? Snowday Singed here. I'm gonna be making this new series, and I'll basically do a mid-patch sort of preview where I analyze, what the patch has done to the meta. It's sometimes it's a bit hard to tell what exactly will happen when the patch hits, but after a week or so with win rates and just what pro players are playing, you can get a general assessment. A little background about myself: my league name is Snowday Singed, and I've been Masters on a Smurf before, maining jungle in season 6. Now I'm in low and mid diamond, just kind of dicking around with different roles, trying to have fun with the game. But I do watch pro play a lot, so I have some pretty good insight in my opinion, and I hope to bring it to you guys. Anyways, how I'm going to format these videos is initially I'm going to do like a 1 to 2 minute quick TLDR of what it's done, if you just want to get the information quick, and I'll also have a much longer thing recorded. It's going to be less compact, just kind of, if you want to hear my nice voice, just go a little more in depth into what the changes actually did. But if you want the quick version, it's there, and long version is also there. Anyways, let's get right into it. So the first champion we're going to be talking about is Aatrox. Aatrox, he's always been in a bad spot, and he's just on purposely been weak, so they gave him a rework, and he's been fucking terrible. Let's say we go to champ GG, and I know a lot of people don't like this website. I also have OPGG here as well. But, if you just look at Aatrox, his win rate was about 41% or 40%, which is fucking atrocious, the lowest win rate in the game. And Aatrox is a very simple kit, so it's really not his kit. It's not like he's hard to play, it's just he's terrible. And honestly, he just... he was so bad that they actually had to hotfix him. And I've played him before and after the hotfix, and, it just really didn't do anything. They gave him 35 damage when you max this, which is like level 13 since you max it second. Lower Q cooldown, these two things are nice, and the base HP is nice, but he has so many other issues with his passive just not doing much, and not having that mixed magic damage, and just his W not doing absurd damage like it used to. And he's just slightly different of the old version of himself, but he's still terrible. He really needs some other buffs to even be remotely playable. A lot of people were excited about Aatrox, and me as well, but it was kind of like a failed mini rework, but I didn't expect much. So I think if you were expecting Aatrox to all of a sudden be a top tier intuitive champion, you were kind of just thinking of the wrong thing. Anyways, so next up was Fizz, and what they did was they took a lot of weight off his ultimate and really put it into his Q and his W, and honestly it really hasn't affected him that much. It was basically like a buff and a nerf at the same time, and it did help those Fizz players that are really experienced, because 0.2 damage on 0.2 AP ratio on your Q and a little bit of more W damage faster, that's lovely. But the R, losing that bullshit hitbox, did kind of hurt him a bit, and the fact that if you miss it, it can't reattach. But I'm pretty sure if I check this, his win rate did actually go up by a little bit though. So as you can see, he's one of the top mid laners right now, and that's that's hard to say for competitive, but in solo queue, you often go TP flash Fizz. And as you can see, with the new W max after these W buffs, he's really, really strong. You can just go Lichbane, Zhonya's, and you could even throw in a Protobelt, as you see here. This, again, really impacted him. And I think Fizz, he's not necessarily ban-worthy, but he does well in a lot of matchups. And he doesn't have the tools exactly with his wave clear, so that's kind of his one weakness. But honestly, he's up there, and I think Fizz might be actually a really good champion right now, and he definitely got buffed from all this, even though it was a buff and a nerf. 0.2 damage to his combo, and even his non-ultimate combo. One thing that this really did was give his pre-6 kill pressure. It increased it by so much. After Fizz's mini rework, it was kind of shitty. He couldn't level 3 kill people anymore, but now he kind of can in the right scenario. Alright, so next we're going to be talking about Kindred, and they basically just changed her passive and buffed it immensely. It's pretty complicated, but the basis is easier things to kill. You know, like Rift Scuttler and stuff will spawn when you have less stacks. Like just when you have low stacks, your passive is gonna mark like really easy targets to get, and it's gonna pass them faster. I mean, mark them faster. My bad, I'm fucking retarded. But as you can see, 70 to 50 seconds, 20 seconds less on like the mark cooldown for jungle camps. That's huge. But you know, Kindred still has those other issues with her Q cooldown and her E just being nerfed. You know, all of her abilities and her heal removal. But in all honesty, this did help her a decent amount. And due to like a lot of other junglers just kind of falling behind, she's a decent champion. You know, her win rate definitely kind of shot up a bit. Well, it shot up from 7.3, not really much this patch, but I don't personally see her in like mid-low diamond that much, but you know, she seems to be in a better spot, but I don't think she's close to top tier. She doesn't match Elise, Rengar, Kha'Zix, Graves, Hecarim. Like those five, there might be another jungler missing probably, but those junglers are just above her, and it's, you know, if Kindred is like really good against one of those particular junglers as a counter pick, which I can't think of any, but let's say she is, you know, Kindred players will find those matchups. She might definitely be worth picking, and she's obviously very good against like a Sejuani Katarina, just a very AoE team fight comp, you know. Any comp that really just wants to 5v5 and crush it with maybe resets or something. Like Malphite, you know, as I said, Sej, just any like divey champion, maybe J4. You know, that's really her niche pick, and honestly, she's pretty solid, just not in that top tier of junglers that's been around for a bit. Alright, so next up is LeBlanc. You know, LeBlanc got probably the hardest set of nerfs I've seen in a long time. I mean, her damage got gutted beyond, you know, look at her W. 0.4 AP ratio lost, like half the damage gone. You can't max W anymore, it just reduces the cooldown, but doesn't even change the damage pretty much. You max Q, and they did buff the Q damage to minions, which does help her wave clear to a decent amount. But this W nerf, I mean, just really hurt her win rate, you know. Honestly, I truly think that if you really know how to play LeBlanc, you can still set up ganks, make plays happen, and maybe in coordinated play, she'll still see some relevancy. But I mean, in solo queue, she just got fucking gutted, dude. She is, you know, I think everyone kind of agrees she was mostly over nerfed. And I mean, you might see her in pro play because her kit is really valuable, but I just don't think it's that valuable, you know, with all of these damage nerfs. So we'll see if they pick her up in pro play anymore. But she really got damaged hard, you know, pretty much the lowest win rate with a decent play rate. So, poor LeBlanc. Anyways, on to the next champion. One champion that I've been playing a ton myself nowadays, Lucian. Lucian is much stronger, especially in proper hands. You know, Lucian, he's been in a kind of weak spot for a while, but these buffs basically lowered his cast times, especially at late game. You know, the W is from level 1 to 18, the Q slightly longer earlier, you don't notice it, but late game having, you know, a tenth of a second off really helps your DPS, and it feels extremely smooth. But this buff alone is not what put Lucian sort of back into the meta. It's the item changes, and if we go over here, Blade of the Ruined King, 15 AD, lost 15 attack speed, gained lifesteal, you know, all these changes purely benefited Lucian, and the item's even cheaper. And, you know, double shot is 16% current health per auto, which is, you know, insane. So it's a beautiful item for him, and it really pushed them back into the meta. And there were also fervor of battle buffs recently. Not this patch, but, you know, it was 7.4. So all of these buffs and a few buffs Lucian got patches ago really just put him in a decent spot where the current build you go is Triforce and Bork. You can go either item first. You know, they both do different things, but honestly, Lucian, he's not the best ADC. He has some hard matchups like Caitlyn and such, but a lot of pros in solo queue are picking him up. We'll see if they start pulling him out in pro play, but Lucian is definitely back on the map to some extent. I don't think he's a top tier ADC because 500 range, he can't deal with some matchups that well, but he's kind of back to where he used to be. He's definitely viable, definitely. However, Crit Lucian is kind of shitty still. And on to the next champion. Alright, so next we're going to be talking about Misfortune. Misfortune was nerfed extremely harsh this patch. Not nearly as hard as LeBlanc, but her Q damage basically got gutted. And the first bounce does around the same damage, like the first hit, but the second one hardly does. It doesn't do increased damage, only if it kills, and even then, with lethality getting nerfed and just everything, it doesn't hit nearly as hard as it used to. However, since Misfortune is an incredibly easy ADC to play, I keep repeating myself, her win rate didn't really get touched, 49%, 50%. She's an easy ADC to play. Still viable, but I really feel like if you're an experienced ADC player and you knew how to play Misfortune, you're gonna get nothing out of her because you would set up those fancy Qs and do shit, but you can't do that anymore. So I feel like unexperienced Misfortunes can still just press R, decimate a team fight, whereas an experienced MF, she's gonna be like, I want to do more than just be an R machine, and you can't really do that anymore. So that's unfortunate. However, she's still definitely a decent ADC. So next we're gonna be talking about Rengar. Rengar, he got some nerfs. He's been the nerf bat for a while. Armor nerfs, health nerfs to his W, health regen, or heal, I guess you could say. Overall, it didn't affect him too harshly. He's at 47.5% win rate. Rengar has always taken a lot of skill, especially the newer Rengar. And, as you can see, experienced Rengars still can carry games. But I think if you know how to play the champion, you should be fine. Rengar, with all these nerfs, is obviously a lot worse than behind. And his play style has slightly changed too. Initially the new Rengar, you could dive in a team, either kill someone, burn a lot of sums, half health someone, and just fucking empowered her out of there and be fine. You can't really do that anymore. You have to play more like a Kha'Zix, I guess you could say. But he's basically Kha'Zix 2.0 at this point. He snowballs hard. He's pretty bad from behind. Overall, and especially in coordinated play, though, he's still going to be extremely strong because R scouting and just, his early game impact is very powerful. Next, we're going to be talking about Ryze. Holy nuts, dude. Ryze, he's in every goddamn patch, and I just played Ryze a game ago, and honestly, he's still basically the same. 0.25 seconds off his root doesn't do anything. That's the base root, so if you got the E, it's still 2 seconds, which, it's a nerf, but it really doesn't matter. And his E nerf just impacts his early trading and his wave clear for, a little bit. But at the end of the day, he still hits for 1k damage, empowered Qs once he hits late game. He still has the guaranteed CC. He still has a really strong ultimate. He's still Ryze. You definitely have to pilot him properly. He's sort of like Azir 2.0. Maybe not as hard, but, his win rate, I believe, is atrocious. But that's because a lot of players do not know how to play him. Again, 37% or 38%, however you want to look at it. That looks terrible, and it kind of is. However, he sort of has that Azir factor, where if you know how to play him properly, he's a high skill cap champion, high skill floor cap, whatever you want to call it. If you know how to play him right, he's still gonna work. And with Ryze's ultimate, CC, and just the way he works, he's always been sort of weighed towards competitive more than solo queue. So in competitive, I still see him to be strong, and in solo queue, I've played him myself recently. These nerfs didn't impact him in the slightest, except for really bad Ryzes or just now inexperienced Ryzes. So overall, the nerf basically did nothing to him, and that's fine with me. Anyways, Varus is up next. Varus, well, these nerfs looked pretty harsh, and I remember last Shadow he was saying, oh, you know, these nerfs aren't too bad. I mean, they're really harsh. So what they did was, you know, they lowered his Q damage, which I don't think that's what they needed to do. I think you could have nerfed the damage or the cooldown, but they chose to do both. You know, that's just, these two nerfs combined really fucked over Varus. And the problem is this hurts poke Varus, but this also hurts the more, I guess you could say, traditional ADC Varus, which would be Hurricane into Essence Reaver, or vice versa. You get Essence first. You know, his win rate has went down immensely, and 45% for an ADC is extremely bad, you know, and Varus is probably one of the easiest ADCs to play. You know, you can put him next to Misfortune, and, you know, Misfortune, easy to play, got nerfed. She's still 49%. Varus, whether you're good or bad with him, he's shitty. His ultimate's really good, but it's not just good enough, you know. As an ADC, you need someone that can do a lot of damage. These nerfs were way over the line. Hopefully, Riot, you know, gives Varus a little bit of love back, and it's shown that these nerfs fucking killed them. Zyra, why is this here? Blade of the Ruined King, this isn't a champion, but, you know, this has buffed a few champions. Lucian in particular. Zed can now build this item again. Other champions like, you know, Vayne and stuff, this works really well with. I guess you could say Master Yi got maybe slightly nerfed with this. I mean, overall, I feel like it's a better item. It's a little less niche than it used to be, so I've been seeing a lot more Borks, let's just say that. Edge and Knight is pretty shitty right now, you know, being active for 5 seconds with its channel time, you know, it's very easy to play around, and, you know, the damage and cooldown got nerfed. Again, these aren't champions, but you really only build this item when, like, they have a lot of AP, and you really just need, you know, you need an MR survivability item, and it's pretty niche now, like it used to be. Stoneborn Pact, it's been out for a little bit. It's, you know, it's alright. It's not that strong. It's more hidden power than Courage of the Colossus, or, you know, something that's very visible. It's more like a passive thing. But it's very good for things like Tom Kench, Dr. Mundo, you know, just some supports, like maybe Braum. You know, 5% max health, that's not a lot of health, but it's something. And the heal is respectable. It's not huge, but, you know, it does its job. It's basically, if you can't use Courage properly, and, you know, Grasp, you don't use properly as well. It's just the other option. And I feel like it's much, much better than the old Bond of Stone. You know, it's actually, like, decent. I'll just say that. Deathfire Touch getting nerfed. I mean, this is my issue. Like, Jhin just got nerfed. Not this patch, but the last patch. Varus got gutted, Misfortune. And they were, like, the only AD champions that really took Deathfire Touch. So this nerf was kind of questionable, since all the other ones got nerfed. I mean, it was just kind of like a weird nerf that really wasn't warranted, but whatever, what are you gonna do? Warlord's Bloodlust, how it's impacted the meta, it's buffed some ADCs that really want to take this. The main one is Caitlyn, because if you can put Headshot and the Bloodlust auto, which will happen sometimes in laning phase, super frequently mid and late game, I mean, that thing's fucking a huge heal. We're talking like mid late game, like 350 heals, you know, with no lifesteal. Just this. It's stupid sometimes. It didn't really impact that many other champions other than Caitlyn. You know, things like Draven can still take it. It's pretty good on them. You can take it on really any champion that, like, you feel really unsafe in your lane. You could take it, but I feel like this change alone put Caitlyn into like one of the best ADCs right now. She's super safe, but she kind of wins every matchup, and she scales really well. Her mid game's obviously weak, but just in the meta, Caitlyn is top tier. Look at that play percentage and look at that win rate. Caitlyn is fucking not busted, but she's up there. She's almost busted. And, that's really interesting. Now, let's see, exhaust. Like, you still take exhaust as a support because, you just have to, wither their ADC in team fights and situations. But this really hurt mid lane exhaust to some extent. Not immensely, but it's basically saying, okay, exhaust is not a must take against pretty much every mid laner. Even if you weren't facing an assassin, exhaust mid lane has always been like the anti-Zed move or anti-Talon, but you were just taking that shit against like Syndra, against Katarina, against fucking, you could probably take it against Veigar, for God's sake. You could just pick it into any matchup and be fine. And let's see, any other changes? They did change the tooltips, and they look much more stylish, but I always miss the old tooltips. I'm a fan of the old HUD, even though that was like 2 years ago. And these changes really didn't, do anything. Oh, wait, what's this? Alright. I just went over all the champions. I'll kind of bullshit for like a minute or two now. Okay, so they put an exclamation mark for the flex queue. I thought they were just going to put double check marks for every patch. I'll be honest, dude, like, who plays flex queue? Flex queue is like the stupidest thing. It's like, if I'm playing with a bunch of friends and I want it to be above normals, but like I can't duo with them and I still want to dick around, I guess I'll play flex queue. It's just, I've only played it like a few times. I don't think I'm even placed this season. So yeah, honestly, just get rid of flex queue. I mean, you can keep it, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. Yeah, none of these matters. Actually, I haven't seen one Dragon Slayer Xin Zhao or one I've seen Dragon Sorceress Zyra actually a few times. I mean, this skin looks decent, at least the splash art, but like I have not seen it once. But so yeah, basically I'll do a quick TLDR. I'll probably just timestamp this. So Aatrox is terrible. Fizz is pretty damn good, actually a really good mid laner. Kindred is slightly better, but gets out-zoned by a lot of meta junglers. LeBlanc got gutted pretty hard. Might still work in some competitive sort of team comps because her chain is OP, but she's pretty fucking bad for the most part. Lucian is actually meta again, not top tier, but pretty viable also because of the item changes. Misfortune, she's really solid for people that just get autofilled into ADC. She has like a 49% win rate. She's really good just clicking R, if you just don't play ADC. But the experienced Misfortunes and shit just lost their ability to chunk people, and she got nerfed pretty hard. Rengar, he's still viable if he can get, if he can snowball and do well. If the player knows how to play Rengar and play aggressive, you can definitely make Rengar work, and he's definitely up there. But if the game just doesn't go well, this will really make it hard to do anything from behind. But these nerfs for Rengar just kind of hurt his early game, so it might be even harder to snowball in some situations. Ryze is still really good if you're like really good with Ryze. I mean, that's the only way to put it. If you're really bad with Ryze, 38% win rate, it shows. He's like the old Azir. Ryze is still viable in the right hands. Varus is shit now, and Blathering King is less than niche. Edge of Night is pretty shitty. Stoneborn Pact is solid. Deathfire Touch for AD champions is kind of shitty now. Bloodlust made Caitlyn top tier. Exhaust is not as strong for mid lane champions, and I guess bot lane to some extent. And that's pretty much what the patch has done. overall, if you enjoyed this video, I might make more if I get some positive feedback. Subscribe to this channel, I'd love that. Like the video if you want to. My name's Matthew, or Snow Day Singed, and have a good day. Peace.